Hello, in this video we'll be going over the installation and configuration of the UcamX, particularly for people that are coming from the UCAM. So the UcamX, this is the version that you will be getting. The release notes are accessible via the link is in the emails. They're also on the website. We're not going to go into all of the details, or I'm not going to scroll through the release notes over here. I'm going to jump right into the installation and the configuration. So the installation starts off exactly like it always does with the Install Anywhere installer. So the extraction phase. The new UcamX splash screen. It will tell you that you need a new licensor, a license file, and also the latest license server. The license server itself is the one that you already have, so no need to do anything there, but you will be needing the UcamX specific license file. We go next. Welcome, thank you. Some information about what's in this latest one. The license agreement. We're just going to do the CAM products. Now we're going to concentrate on the UcamX over here, but if you're using this to install SmartPlot, Smart Argos, you would obviously click the options over here. UcamX, however, is on the left. You do want to associate your job files and your DPF files with UcamX now, so that when you double click them in the file system, they will be opened up with UcamX rather than Ucam. So this is a new screen in the installer. This pertains to the parallel processing modes that you wish to install. Now when you qualify, you're gonna get the PP2 license, the Parallel Processing 2 license for when you get your UcamX licenses. But you may in the future also decide that you have a very powerful computer, you're doing very heavy jobs. Maybe you want to look into upgrading to 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, however many parallel processings, and then you would want to install that. You need to tell UcamX as to which mode you want to start up with. So for now, I'm going to install a regular PP1, which is basically the same as your current UCAM. There's no parallel processing going on. I'm going to use the 2 because that's what the majority of you are going to be having. On my system, I also have a license for PP4, so I'm going to create an icon also for PP4 so I can show you during the demo how this all works, particularly in pertaining to the load balancing sessions. So we're going to go next. There's no job manager, so ignore that. This is the same CFG folder that we've always been using, so we're going to say next. This is one final review, and we click install. Right, so the big things in the version, the visible ones are the graphical user interface. Obviously, the fact that you can now take advantage of the multi-core CPUs with the parallel processing, and that we have extended the use of multi-job processing. Before with UCAM, you were always able to start up a second session to have a quick look at the job, but with multi-job processing, we take this actually way a bit further by allowing almost like a full UcamX session to be started up in parallel, particularly when you have the PP2s. All right, so the installation is finished. We do not need to reboot. There's no reason for that. Click done. So as you notice that there's actually a number of icons on my desktop now. I've got the PP1, the PP2, and PP4, as I said, in the installation. You also see a fourth one. This is actually the one that we're going to use later on to start up additional sessions. Yeah, before with the UCAM, you double clicked on the UCAM again. That started up a second session. This we are using a dedicated icon for that, and I'll show you in a moment how that all works. So I'm going to start up the UcamX with the two parallel processes. What will happen is that the very first time that you start it up, it will notice that you have a properties file from your current UCam, and it's going to use that to create its initial setup for the menus. When I'm going to click on that, you're going to notice that there's a bunch of menus flashing open and closed on the screen. That's actually because it's opening every one of those up, so it knows the size and positions of them to have an initial view. But of course, we're going to use our workspace's capability to make this way nicer than what we were capable of doing with the UCAT. Right. So at first glance, it should look familiar to you. Probably most of you don't have all of these toolbars enabled. There's also like a side note. Your current toolbars will not be converted. The reason for that is that we are using a different mechanism. But what I advise you is to actually have a look at the existing ones, and then I'm also going to show you in this video on how you can change them, and you can make it your own. And of course, I'm always happy to help with configuring those for you as well. All right, so when we are opening up a job, at first glance, this is now open, and you see that before all of these were grayed out because there was no job loaded. Those functions weren't active. So the user interface now really clearly shows you, even better than it was in UCam, on which functions you can do and which ones are not available for you. So the first thing what I want to do is I want to make UcamX my own. The new menu up here called Workspaces. In here you see a number of functions like reload, save as, lock, undo, redo, etc. and delete. And the important one is that there's two out-of-the-box setups that are coming. There's actually a number of examples, but out of the box, when you first start UCam up, it actually starts up in the startup mode, right? Like what we noticed before, there was no menus open, nothing at all. When you start a new job or when you load a job, it will go into the workspace that is called job. Now at this point, there isn't any difference between those two because I haven't set anything up yet. So what can I do now in creating, how can I make this user interface my own? Well, we'll make our own in a moment, but let's have a look at a job example. See, when I switch to job example, it actually automatically brought up a number of menus like the aperture manager. If I take an even different example like the edit example, it brings it up even more menus, and it even has a new user interface element that wasn't present in UCam before. But look at these. These are actually auto hide menus that you can employ to really make the interface your own. Now, this may or may not be to your liking. So let's start off with the standard out-of-the-box job one. And now we're going to make this our own. First of all, of course, I want to have my job editor. Yeah, that is always the one that will always be present. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make it part of the main edit over here. So I'm holding my mouse down and the control key, and now I'm moving my mouse over the main, and you see that there's this, if I move into different positions, that I'm getting these boxes. Yeah. So when I let go of that, you see now that because of I let it go at the moment that it was on the side. Now my job editor is actually part of my main edit window. So when I resize this, it moves with it. Right? So that is one way of one user element. Now I want to actually have, I don't really need the messages right here. I'm gonna make this really nice, very big edit window, which also allows me to see all of the functions in my toolbars. Now another menu that I personally always have on the screen is the view guide. So I'm gonna pick that up, the view guide. So at first it jumps wherever it was the last time, was it part of your UCam properties. And now again, I'm gonna hold my mouse key down, mouse down and my control, and I'm moving it over the job editor. Now there's two ways what can happen when I see it jumps between a small one and a big one. The small one is actually, if I let go, it's now over it, like that. So I now have my view guide and my job editor on the screen. And this would be a good point that if I like this, and I'm going to assume you like it, you want to save this so that it remembers this. And we're going to go to workspaces, save. Now just use the standard default job. Save, there we go. So now if I switch to from my startup view to my job view, you see how all the menus are automatically coming up. Okay, let's bring in some more. The selections menu is one that is being used a lot. This still looks exactly the same as it looked before, but now we're going to bring in another element over here. I'm going to actually make it an auto hide. Yeah, so not this one. Like that, and now I'm making it an auto hide. So by the auto hide, the way I got that one is you see that in the ones that are docked here on the right hand side, there's this little push pin. And if you move your mouse over it, it will say toggle auto hide. So look what happens now when I click on selections. I'm getting all of my selections. So because I have it set up like this, I can now easily go and do my selections, and it's not over my view. When I'm done with it, I can always click back like that. Yep. So you click on it, bring it up, click on it, it's out of the way. The other one that I'm going to bring up like that is the view messages, because once in a while I do want to see those. So I'm going to just bring it in, just as a little one, and then I'm pushing it as a auto hide like that. I want to move this one down, it's just a tad, like this. Yeah, and I can resize this if I like. If I don't want to see this big, this is big enough. Messages, workspaces, save. All right, so that is already two user elements. Now I want to introduce another one. Let's bring up our numbers. Numbers, I can grab it from the toolbar over here. And I'm going to position that to the right of this main menu, my main window, like that. And I'm going to bring my transforms in. And the way what I like about the new interface is also that you can combine different menus together. And I'm actually combining the transforms and the numbers. So the way you do that is that I move over, hold my control key down, and now rather than taking like the small one, I'm bringing it all the way over like that. And you see what happens? I got my numbers, which I'm going to stretch out just a tad. And here's my transform. So I got numbers and transform together. I happen to like that. If you don't care for that, then don't combine it those that way. We can always just take the transform, pull it back out, and do something like this. Yeah, so now you have your measure and your transform. They're still together, but they're no longer on top of each other. This is also ideal if this is a very good example as to if you have two screens. You can easily put all of these menus together, the ones that, like, rather than taking them on the side over here, let's create that. I'm going to bring in the also, no, I have to do it right. View guide over here. So you could also see, you can combine it also together in this particular fashion. Yeah? And now you can basically totally make this your own, however you like. Now you can also put it next to each other, right? So we're not done yet. So we can put two menus next to each other. You can individually scale these left and right, like this, like that. Now imagine that you put all of these. Oh, of course I'm doing this. Let's make it easier, a little easier on myself. Let's do it like that. There we go. So you can do all kinds of interesting things in creating your user interface. Here we go. Things like that. Yeah. And so you may come up with a way that you have all of the menus that you care about, and you actually put those on your second screen. Well, I got a second screen, but if I push it all the way over there, you won't see it anymore. So this gives you like a very nice, very big edit window with all of your menus on the different screens, on the second screen. All right, so let's go back to this example, and let's just put since I didn't save that, I'm going to put it back on here. Just as a recap, if I want my transforms on there, hold my Control key down, and I'll make sure that it's over the entire window, and I can switch back and forth. The same fashion you can also combine three windows together. Like here's my magnifier. I'm going to put my magnifier on top of that. And then some people like to use the grid. Well, why don't we put the grid on there as well? So now we have the view guide, which I may want to stretch out a little bit more, like this. The magnifier and the grid parameters. Just a way of doing things. You can totally make this your own. And there we go. We save this. And yeah. So imagine the idea behind the workspaces is that you basically, if you like to have all of your familiar menus on the screen all the time, just put them in your job, in the job setting. Yeah. But the idea is actually that for particular functions that you want to do, you bring up those menus that you only use once in a while. But rather than picking them up, moving them aside, or moving things around, you can create a workspace that helps you with that. Imagine this. Like when you're doing in the beginning of the job, you typically do things like you use the contourize. Yeah. You may also use the models. So let's do like the flash maker. I mean, yeah. So how about combining these two together? Yeah. Something like this. And you would those could be part of a new workspace. These don't have to be on the screen all the time, but they are very handy in the beginning. So maybe we could save this one as initial edit. So now we have one. If we go from job, if we starting at the beginning, we're gonna do initial edit. Now we have those functions that are important for initial edit. When I'm done with my contourizing of my filled areas and I'm done with my draw to flash conversions, I don't need this anymore. So I switch back to my job. Yeah. Maybe at a certain moment you want to do electrical tests. Yeah. For electrical tests, we may bring up our UTest menu, move that somewhere where out of the way, and we can call this one ET. Yeah. Now with ET, we may also want to bring up our error view, so we don't need this one, but we may want to have our error view. Yeah. So we come up with a way where both of these guys are together. Like maybe I want to put my error view as a flyout like this, and for my electrical test, I don't need to have such a big window. I just want to see my entire U-test screen, like this maybe. Slide this over. Slide this down. Something like that. And now we're saving this as ET. Yeah, that already exists. It knows. Okay, I'm overriding it. So I can go from job. And so I can go from ET mode. Oh, I forgot to save that one. Save like that. So we can switch back and forth between the different modes. That is the idea. So work with that. See how you like it. If you don't like it, you know, I think you will. I extremely like the fact that I can now, with just one click, when I open up the job, I can immediately, it brings up all of my menus on my second screen, and it works great. I also have two setups where I use uh, job with two screen and job with one screen, because when I'm on the road, I don't have two screens, so then I use the regular job. So you can can totally make this your own. The other thing what you can do, something that wasn't possible with the UCam, is things like this. I want to actually grab the toolbars, and I'm going to do something like this. Yeah. Or I'll have them at the bottom, and this one also at the bottom. Yeah. Or I don't care for one of these. Like I don't care for this one, and I don't care for this one. I just want to have the ones at the top. So and now we save this, because your toolbars are also saved together with your workspace. So you can have one toolbar when you do one thing and another toolbar when you do another thing. Speaking about toolbars, how about this? You can actually, customizing your toolbars is is way easier than it used to be on the UCam side. So a lot of you guys have been using the same toolbars for years because it was actually not that simple to create your own. Yeah. Over here, it's very easy to make your own. We can start from having, for example, the view and edit one, which is this guy. Yeah. And I'm gonna make a duplicate of it, and I'm gonna call it, this is mine. Yeah. Now in these, I'm gonna say, for example, by the attribute manager, I don't really do anything with it. So I'm selecting it and I'm taking it out. Yeah. Since I already have my grid parameters here, I'm gonna take it out. My guide's already on the screen, so I'm taking it out. I don't need two separators, so I'm taking it out. Yeah. Now, is there anything that I would like to have on top of that? Well, maybe there is. Let's see. I want to be able to switch my view options. I want to switch between in blocks and not in blocks. So I'll grab this one, bring it over here. So you click on that button that puts it over here, and now you just use those arrow keys. There we go. And you move it to where you like to have it. If you need a separator, grab it from the top, push it over, make sure to select it, otherwise you get that error that you saw on the video, and move it up. Yep, save it. It automatically brings it in. Yeah, so this is the one that I created. Of course, I don't need two of them. I'll take the system one out, and I just created my own toolbars. You can even create your hyperscripts in there, but I'll make that one into a separate video on how you do those. Okay, so that was the user interface. Yeah, the toolbars. How can I make the UcamX totally my own? The next thing what I want to show is the principle of the load balance sessions. Yeah. So the load balance sessions, you see up here, it tells you that this is the PP2. Yeah, parallel processing 2. If I'm going to start, I'm going to minimize this one. If I want to have like a second UcamX to maybe just look at a job, I will start that up. And what will happen is that it will change my existing PP1. Since I have a PP2, it turns it into 1. And the second session is also a PP1. So I basically now have two, rather than just like one full session and a view session. I now have two full sessions that have all of the functionalities, and I can have, so I can switch back and forth. Happen to have loaded both of the same jobs, and each one of these is independent in regards to the user interface. Yeah. So let's take a clearer example over here. Yeah. This is one that comes out of the box. So you see, this was the one I was working on. Maybe on this one I want to do ET or something with route, because the person from the drill department comes and says, well, I think there's a problem with the route. So you bring it up. You have a workspace that has all of your tools for the route, pop it up, and you can do everything you want. All of the menus are there. Outputs are there. You can quickly plot the file without having to close out the job that you're working on. Yeah. So now what will happen now? Now you may be saying, well, but you had a PP2. So what will happen if I need to load a third one? Well, you actually can also load a third one in. and that one will start up, yeah, and it will also show up as a PP1. So if I take something different over here, yeah, if I had a job, that would be nice. Let's just take this, whatever it is. Yeah, so here we have a, again, so now we have basically three full UCAMs. If you close one out, the remaining ones will still be PP1s. But if I close this one out, you will see that it automatically comes back to a PP2. So I've got all of my parallel processings are working in this particular session again. Okay, I think that is enough for this video. If you have any questions on UcamX, on how to install it, configure it, make it your own, feel free to contact me. Thank you.